Okay, we're going to get started now. So hello everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Patrick from Mention, and I'm lucky enough to be speaking first today. As you know, this webinar is titled How to Combine Listening and Analytics for a Complete Social Media Strategy. So on the agenda, I'm going to kick it off and talk about social listening, explain what you can do with that, and then I'm going to give you a demonstration of social listening in action. Then Julian is going to speak. He is going to tell us all about social media analytics and how you can use those. And he'll also give a demonstration. So we're going to be very hands-on. After that, we're going to see how the two of those go together, and then we're going to finish up with some questions. Before I go any further, we wanted to give you a sense of the way that we view the social media landscape and why we're putting these two things side by side. On the one hand, we have listening, which is what Mention does. That's on the left of the slide right now. And what social listening really does is help you hear what's being said on social media on a much more micro level, or tweet by tweet, Facebook post by Facebook post. You will know exactly what people are saying. On the other hand, we have social media analytics, which is much more the macro, the big data, taking lots and lots of social media posts and looking for trends, analyzing those. So we've separated that out very clearly with Mention as a listening tool, Quintly as an analytics tool. Truthfully, we both do a little bit of both, but we think that the two tools go together really well, and we're going to try to demonstrate that to you. A little bit about me. As you can hear, I have a silly New Zealand accent, but I now live in Paris, in France, which is where Mention is located, or headquartered, anyway. And I put a few of my likes down here. So I'm the head of content at Mention. I really like content marketing. I also like basketball, and I like prints. And that third one is going to be relevant a little bit later on. So just remember that for now. If you want to get in contact, if you have any questions, if you want more information, if you want resources, it's really easy, patrick@mention.com. And please, just don't hesitate. Please get in touch. So, next up, what is Mention? Mention is a real-time media monitoring application. So we help you see what's being said about you anywhere online. Now, for this presentation, we're focusing very much on social media. We also do news, blogs, forums, everything. But for this, we're talking about social listening. And the reason for that is there's just so much content on social media right now. So many conversations, and they can be really hard to keep track of. And we can help you. So that's that, and I'm going to demonstrate that. But first, what is social listening? What am I talking about? Social listening lets you see what's said about your brand, your competitors, and your industry anywhere on social media. If someone says something about Mention or Quintly on social media, but they don't talk about us directly, they don't use the @Mention handle on Twitter, for instance, or the @Quintly, we'll help you find that. Okay? There are two main advantages. The first one is that it's simply you can monitor all of your social media accounts from one dashboard. There are other tools that do that, but the really important thing about a social listening tool is that it lets you know who's talking about you and what they're saying, even when they don't use your name. And the best part about it is that it all happens in real time, which is really important on social media. So just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that you could monitor for, it doesn't have to just be your brand name, but it could be you, your brand name and your products. It can also be your competitors' brands and their products. We also help you monitor key influencers in your industry so you can keep track of what those big names are talking about. And then there's also broader topics, major events going on around you that don't directly impact you, but are still important, and also industry trends. As I wrote on the right of the screen, the options are limitless. It's keyword tracking. Any word in any language can be tracked, so it's just about your imagination. I wanted to give you some practical ways that you could use this, because it's not much good just hearing stuff. You know, you actually want to put that into practice and to create strategy from that information. These are 5 of probably our biggest use cases for our clients. These are the things that people tell us they use Mention for, and social listening in general. It's not just Mention, social listening. So one of the biggest ones is that you can learn from your competitors. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that after this slide. But because media monitoring or social listening is real time, it also lets you avoid crises. You hear about things that are going wrong, for instance, straight away, and you can react before they spiral out of control. It lets you respond to people in real time, which means that you can capitalize on conversations that are going on around you. And you can also provide great customer care, because again, as I said before, if people don't tweet directly at you or send a Facebook message to you directly, you can still hear their complaints, you can still hear the conversations they're having, and you might be able to solve their problems. And that last one, again, you can work with influencers to build exposure, and we'll be able to help you find those influencers. So I wanted to give you a real world example. This is one of our clients. This is Gideon. I like Gideon a lot because he lets us quote him, and also because he's very happy to talk to us about the things that he's doing in his job and how he's using Mention and social listening. He works for One World Direct. They're a big logistics company, international, and he has a really cool strategy for social listening. So he listens very specifically for customers of his competitors who are complaining about the products or who are having trouble. And then his strategy is to reach out and to try to help them himself. And that way he's won lots of customers that way. He's also just made One World Direct seem like a really helpful and great company. I thought that was a really cool example, and I just wanted to give that to you to show you. So we're going really, really quickly, and I know that, but we've covered sort of what is social listening in general and in theory. And now I want to actually use a real-world example so that you can see it. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you're doing it, and I think that will be much more helpful. So to back up a little bit, I told you at the beginning that I'm a really big Prince fan, and I thought, well, I want to give an example for this webinar, so why don't I monitor Prince? You know, it was a sad year for Prince fans. Prince died. It's been tough. And I wanted to know what people are saying about Prince now. So before I started at Mention a few years ago, I would have been using Google Alerts. And Google Alerts are great. They're free. It's really nice of Google to provide a free service to people. So I did that. I created an alert for Prince on Google Alerts. You can see there, it's very simple. It's just the word Prince. And I wanted to know, as soon as someone mentions Prince, I wanted to get an email about that. I knew it was going to be crazy. There was going to be emails, emails, emails. But I wanted to test it out. Let's see what happens. Unfortunately, I haven't received any emails. And I promise you I wasn't doing this as a trap to make Google Alerts seem bad. I wanted to show the difference between their approach and our approach. This is just the way it shook out. So then today, I created an alert with Mention. Now this is a Boolean alert. It looks a little bit complex on the left, but it's really not. It took 1 minute to set up, I promise. And what Boolean alerts let you do is combine keywords so that you get much more precise with what you're looking for. So you can see on the left there, I wanted to know every time people talk about Prince, but also when they use words like music or musician or guitar in conjunction with the word Prince. So the word Prince on its own is not enough. And I really didn't want to hear when they were talking about Prince William or Prince Harry or the Prince of somewhere or other. So this was a great way to sort of narrow down my search. And now I'm going to switch over to Mention and I'll show you what we actually got. So here we go. This is my alert for Prince. I created it at midday today, so 6 hours ago. I have 25,000 mentions, which is crazy, particularly because for the most part, they are really talking about Prince. 25,000 people talking about Prince. So as a big Prince fan, I can scroll through this feed, look at all these incredible things. I might want a Purple Rain green t-shirt. I might want to read about Bowie, Prince, and music legends that we lost in 2016. That's been a very popular conversation topic at the moment. And in fact, let's say that I love that tweet so much that I want to take part in this conversation. It's dead simple. I can reply, I can retweet, I can like directly from here. I've connected my Twitter account. I can respond live in real time. Now, this is a silly example where we're talking about Prince, but you can imagine the customer service aspect to that. Someone has an issue. Someone says they love your brand. They love your product. You can respond to them right now and share that good news from them. Okay. We can also, because I have 25,000, I might want to filter down my results. So, for instance, I can choose a time period just from yesterday till today. I only want to look at Twitter just because, and I only want to see positive results because I feel like being positive today. I apply my filters, and again, we've just got loads and loads of prints, news, tweets, all that sort of thing. So that is social listening in a nutshell. Very, very simple. I wanted to, before I went on, I just wanted to show you a couple of other things you can do here. We do have dashboards. This is getting a little bit into the social analytics thing, and that's what Quintly really does, but we do have some ourselves. We also have this influencers dashboard, and what this will do is show you, based on influence, the people that are using your keywords, where they are, how influential they are. This is this influencer score here, and we can reach out to them directly again. Finally, I just wanted to show you the Insight Center. This lets you make graphs out of all of this information, which is wonderful. So you can create your own graph however you like, using the source material that you like and the design that you like. I have one more thing to talk about, and then I'm going to hand over to Julian. And that was that I wanted to return to Gideon from One World Direct, who we spoke about just before, and his great strategy, what I think is a great strategy. So I decided that I was going to try to replicate that, and I was going to use Samsung as an example. So I created, 1 hour ago, I was thinking about this, and I created an alert for Samsung problems. That's what I'm calling it. And as you can see, we're using the same Boolean query as we did before, the same style of query, but this time, anytime someone uses the word Samsung along with, I put in some negative words, things like broken or hate, I don't like Samsung, that kind of thing, I want to know about it. So here's what we've got. Again, now a lot of these are things like Reddit, we've got some Twitter, loads of people. Again, some of these are not going to be perfect examples, but I did see one just earlier that I wanted to show you. So here, how to disable Bluetooth on Samsung screens. Why I love this example is it works perfectly whether you're Samsung or a competitor. If I'm Samsung, I want to know that people are having problems disabling Bluetooth. So I can go here, I can see the original Reddit comment, I can even comment myself if I've connected my Reddit, or it will lead me to Reddit to do that. And I'm going to be able to help that person solve their problem. Conversely, if I'm a competitor of Samsung, and maybe I know that my televisions don't have a Bluetooth problem, this is a slightly weird example, then I can reach out and explain to them exactly why they'd be better off using my product rather than sticking with Samsung. Samsung was just a random choice. I promise you there was nothing behind it. I don't have any hatred for Samsung. But I wanted to give this example so that you could see actually that, again, in real time, you're able to respond and either help them solve that problem or perhaps use that problem to your advantage. So again, that was a really, really quick breakdown of social listening. There's lots more to it, and again, if you want to email me, patrick@mention.com, I would really love to give you some more resources, some more information. But now I'm going to hand it over to Julian, and he's going to talk about social media analytics. Thank you very much.
So hello everybody, this is Julian from Quintly. Thanks Patrick for the very interesting insights on Mention. I knew it already, but still, pretty great tool. So, if you have questions during when I'm talking, or questions regarding Mention or Quintly in the end, just use the GoToWebinar question box, by the way, and yeah, we will have time to answer all these questions after the webinar. Now, let's just start with social media analytics. So, what is social media analytics? Yeah, one very interesting sentence might be benchmark yourself against your competition and always be one step ahead. So this is pretty important, that you benchmark yourself against your competition. So let's dig deeper how we do it, how Quintly does it, and how social media analytics can do it for you, and it can help your business to do that. So what is social media analytics? Social media analytics is all about data directly drawn from various social networks. And the important word here is basically directly drawn. That shows a bit and explains a bit how we work, how Quintly works as a social media analytics tool, because we plug into the network's API and get the information related to the selected profile and analyze then on a profile level. Patrick explained earlier that the Mention guys work in a different approach. They crawl a whole web, so Facebook, Twitter, forums, blogs, everything for you. So that's a bit like a Google-esque approach, I would say. Please correct me later if that was wrong, Patrick. But we from Quintly use the network's API and go to the profile level. Profile level means, let's say, facebook.com/Mercedes-Benz. This is a profile, or Instagram.com/New York Times Travel, New York Times Fashion. This is another profile. And then we go really deep into the content analysis of this specific profile. And we analyze how the content performed. And then obviously you can track your competitors as well. That's why I saw it in the previous slide, that competition and benchmark yourself against the competition is really, really important for us. Because we believe that analyzing yourself and your own performance is really, really good and really important first step, but it gets meaningful when you compare it to your competition. Yeah, then we aggregate the data. How we aggregate them, I will show you in the next slide, and then we visualize it for you in different chart types. We have pie charts, we have line charts, bar charts, and some data analysts here in-house working on what makes most sense, which chart you use for this information, for that KPI, and yeah, that's basically it. So we worry about how that can be visualized properly. Then the last part here on this slide is what I set up. This is when I'm on a conference or talking to somebody who doesn't know Quintly. I always like to tell somebody which questions it answers, which questions Quintly can answer. And yeah, the most important three ones for me I encountered in the last, let's say, conferences and events where I've been is, firstly, which post performed well. So we are all posting a lot on social media, but we need to know, or you have to know as a brand, because there's not just a post, but it's like money behind it. So you invest more money in it. You need to know which post performed well and why it performed well. And this answer is what we want to help you to find out. And the second question is a very controversial one, since the rise of social media is what's the best time to post on social media. And there are many providers and many blogs and different people who say there's this rule of thumb: you have to post at 6 p.m. And we believe, and I deeply believe in this as well, that this is more a marketing gag than something else. It's, for me, you need to know this is very important to find the best time to post on social media, but there's no rule of thumb like 6 p.m. is the best time, because it has to do with your followers. Who is it? Are it males? Are females? How old are they? How they're using it? What's your product? So they are very, very it's very, very different for the individual products. And then the last one is getting really important, is to which degree does my competition rely on sponsored content, and which content is that? Which content is sponsored by the competition? Which helps also a lot to dig deeper into their strategy. So this is the slide which helps you a bit, or tries to help you to understand the data collection, how Quintly works actually. So on the left side, you see the little robots. They are nicely animated little sweet robots, but they're actually just worker farms. And these worker farms plug into the network's API and then get the data out of it. So for example, I just mentioned Mercedes-Benz earlier, or New York Times, and these little workers go into these profiles we track and say, okay, now they have amount X in fans, and then in 2 hours later they do it again, and we have this amount of fans and that amount of interactions, and they do that quite often during the day, so that we can get the number of fans, followers, interactions, and then calculate all the different metrics out of that. This information is stored in the database, and then we visualize it in different charts and different metrics. And then I told you earlier, the line chart, the bar chart, and all the different charts we think visualize it best for you and makes it easiest to understand. Yeah, what can social analytics do for you? I think Patrick did the same earlier for social analytics. So now, what are the key advantages for social media analytics? Yeah, first of all, it's easy to access quantitative data from all major networks such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and stuff. The second one is, I mentioned that already, I think a few times, but it's really, really important for us, so I mentioned it another time. You can draw valuable insights from your competitors or your industry you're in. So this is really important for us, that you not only see your own numbers, but you also see the competitors and learn from them. What are they doing? What are they posting? Which content do they sponsor? And stuff like this. The last point here is really important as well, is the deep analysis of all social media numbers and benchmarking capabilities. That means basically you find different KPIs and then measure how content performed and if you reached your goals and why you did not. So I talked a lot about theory. Now let's jump into the tool. By the way, if you want to learn it yourself, just sign up at quintly.com. We have a free trial for 14 days, no cost involved and stuff. So if you want to learn it, just go over. So this is Quintly. This is how our tool looks. So you can see here on the top left, I chose New York Times as an example here. I just recently wrote a post about it, so that's why I found it an interesting example. And then I said earlier that we can track all major networks, but right now I just want to analyze Instagram to keep it a bit simple as a start. So this is a dashboard. What you see here in the main field is a dashboard, and you start normally with an empty canvas, so there's no widgets on it. It's completely empty, and you are the driver of all this, and you can choose all the metrics you want to pick. And I always like to start with a bird's eye view, so I take the key metrics table where all the key metrics are in. So you can see it here. New York Times Fashion, for example, has almost 2 million followers, which is crazy. Then New York Times Food is in the group here as well, which is 400,000 followers, and travel and sports as well. Sports with the smallest channel, and here you can see the number of posts in the analyzed period, which is 1st September to December 14th, so yesterday. So now I know already, okay, how does the group look like, and I know that fashion is the biggest profile here. And then let's go further. So how here I can see in followers total how the follower count improved over time, because New York Times Fashion is actually screwing our data here. Just exclude them for a second, and then I can just see how New York Times, let's say, food grew over time. So and then this is already pretty interesting for yourself, or if you are benchmarking that against you against your competition, or if this is your competitor and you can just compare it to you. Hopefully that's not you, hopefully that's you perhaps, so you can see that you're getting closer to your competitor. Or let's say you are New York Times Fashion. That's pretty cool because you're outperforming your competitors. So, and then you can see, like for example, how you grew from, let's say, September until today or yesterday. So you can be happy with your growth basically. Then here you can see the follower change per day, and you can see peaks here, for example, with 3,000 fans that they won in October. So you can see perhaps parallels to offline campaigns and other stuff. And then we get one step deeper here and through the analysis and say, okay, what's the average interactions per post? And I think this is one of the most interesting metrics, or one of the most important metrics, because most of the people want to reach high interactions on the post they do. So let's have a look here and let's compare, for example, New York Times travel against New York Times food. Or let's say this is the black line is BMW and the red line would be Tesla. Or Tesla is perhaps not realistic, but Mercedes-Benz. So two huge players in the market. And you can see that both channels actually receive a similar amount of average interactions. That's pretty interesting. Having said that, travel and food, keep that in mind. Let's go back to the key metrics table. Travel and food. You see that the food channel has 200,000 or no 100,000 fans more than the travel channel. So this is actually pretty good performance. Pretty good performance for the travel channel. So here the black line, because if you have more followers, you tend to reach more people. Yeah. And even if you compare it then here with New York Times Fashion, you see that they have like really high peaks on the average amount of on per post, but still, so the other two do a good job compared to the huge audience that New York Times Fashion has. Yeah, this metric actually answers or helps you to answer the question which I just discussed earlier: the best time to post on social media. In order to answer this question, you need to start with one metric, which is now on the left-hand side, which is the post by time. It analyzes now all the four profiles we have in the analysis here, and identifies patterns when these profiles post and around which time they post. And you see they are posting quite a lot in this area here. So you can identify the first pattern, which is somehow here, right? So the big bubbles visualize more posts, and you see that they, like Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. A lot of posts got sent out. Sorry, and then on Thursday night they hardly post. They didn't post anything. If you use this metric frequently, just as a side note, be aware of the time zone you pick. So, and then on the right hand side we have the interaction rate metric. So this is not visualizing the posts because we answered this question already on the left hand side, but the interaction rate by time answers when did people interact with the posted content. And you see a clear pattern here in the early morning in the time zone we chose. I think it's New York time actually. So on the left hand side you see a pattern here, which means, okay, why does not New York Times or the three analyzed profiles try to post more in this time as well? Because people interact with them at this time, so it's quite likely that they are online at that time. And yeah, that might be a good idea, perhaps to to increase the channel's interactions per post. Not necessarily right, but you could try it. Yeah, we could keep doing this for hours, but I think I just go for the next metric, and then you perhaps hopefully got a good understanding of what we can do for you on a basic level here. Yeah, so own posts, you can see that New York Times Fashion went crazy here with 50 posts a day, and the other channels have a pretty much they have their own post frequency on a similar level, like roughly 2 per day. Sometimes they don't post at all. Sometimes they post up to 5 times, but a similar post frequency. So does normally have New York Times, for example, in this period of time. But here they posted quite a lot. So 50 times, and here 36 times per day is quite a big amount of posts every day, pictures every day, and videos. But yeah, I just had a look why was that, and that was the New York Times Fashion Week. The New York Fashion Week was on, so perhaps that would make sense because people would expect more posts in this time as well. So hopefully I showed you some metrics which are helpful, or which might be helpful for Instagram analysis, for you, for your own business, for your own brand, and then for your competitors. As you see here, there I have like loads more dashboards which answer different questions. Like for example, for us, for Quintly, I have a KPI dashboard where I just plugged in our Facebook Insights, and I report that to my team Mondays, and then we talk at the marketing meeting about our KPIs. How many link clicks did we achieve on our posts? How much reach did we have, and stuff like this. Then we have a CRM analysis here, and a content strategy dashboard, and one for the presidential elections, which Thilo and me did it together. He is a colleague of mine, so we did this together for the US elections. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. We have been in the tool, and now let's wrap things up. So let's imagine you're a social media manager of a brand, and you have just run a campaign on social media channels. So let's say you ran it on various channels, and on Facebook, for example, on Twitter, and I can picture the story pretty well, because let's say you guys are Julian, and so me and you're a social media manager and communications manager of Quintly, and what we do, we publish studies quite regularly, and the studies are part of the blog. So we write a blog post about the study, we attach the study to the blog post, we write a press release, and we post it obviously on Facebook. So now let's see what Mention can do for you. What can Quintly do for you? In the beginning, so it was just yesterday we launched our study, and yeah, the first thing, we had an exclusive, for example, in the German-speaking market, with a big tech magazine here in Germany, and they publish it. And obviously, I want to know who's talking about us, who is reposting them, who saw the info, and who is really important while talking about it for us, and identify critics immediately, as Patrick mentioned before. So see people, they have questions regarding the data set, the methodology, or just don't like the study out of some reason, and I can straight go into the discussion from Mention, as Patrick mentioned earlier. Yeah, I just quickly said as well, identify important people in the discussion. And yeah, that's very important for me personally as well, or for us here at Quintly, after we send out something, to identify people who have a high reach and talk about us. So obviously we want that people who have a high reach and are perhaps influential in the industry, that they talk nicely about us. So we just need to keep track who is talking about us, and when we're not just sending out a campaign, but we do it on a daily basis, who is talking about our competitors in a nice way, or who is talking about it in a bad way. Perhaps they could talk nice about Quintly. So this is everything what Mention does for you. Then here Quintly can help here at this point, quite cool as well. So we have a key influencer metric within Facebook where you can see people how are they commenting? Are they commenting just on your page? So really just influencers for you, or are they influencers in the whole industry? So is there an overlap to more people from the industry, or is it just you? This is a very, very powerful thing in my opinion. And then where just Quintly where Quintly helps you then in the end is how did the content perform? So we post a picture, for example, on Facebook, or on we posted on Twitter, and what was the tweet which performed best? Was a GIF inside, or was there an image inside, and stuff like this? Did the Instagram post um, um, contain a filter or something like this? Which hashtag performed best? And this is what we want to learn for the future, right? So if we see, okay, the last study we used a link post, so an instant article basically, and we reached less people, which is actually the case, but we achieved more link clicks. This is really important for us because our goal for the study is actually not the biggest reach, perhaps, but we want people to read it. So this is where Quintly helped us and and we knew that that instant articles or link posts have a lower reach, but they really fulfill our goal or help us to achieve our goal, meaning to say achieve more link clicks. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. Patrick, please let me know when I forgot something. And guys, if you have questions, please let us know now. You can tweet me at Julian_Gottge or at Quintly at just Quintly, or you can write Patrick an email. I think there are many ways to contact us. Patrick.
Yes, I'm here, and I know what I forgot, and I'm not sure. Maybe you mentioned it, and I missed it, which is that we've written an ebook with all of this information in it, and it's all ready to go for attendees to take home. I assume we will be able to send that out in an email after the webinar, Julian?
Yeah, we will. I also send it just to the chat. If you see the GoToWebinar panel, and there's just early Christmas present for you. That's how I call it. So yeah, just I think it's a pretty nice piece of content. If you knew everything or already what we talked about, which I don't hope, then perhaps it might be cool for your colleagues or co-workers or
Absolutely. So we have one question, a very specific one about mention from Axel, which I will take. Axel is asking, in mention, what is the time setting for the feed, and can I change it? I assume by that you mean when we display, we can look at things based on time and date. So I can say I want to see mentions only from the last 24 hours, for instance. And that's going to be different. Or I want to see mentions from June the 6th. But June the 6th is in the USA is kind of different from June the 6th in Europe, because if the tweet came out at midnight, which day is it? The answer to that is it will be based on your IP address, and it will change based on depending on where you are, which is not always the best, and we're aware of this. So there is a fix coming in the next 2 weeks. I ran out just while Julian was talking and checked this with the head of product here. It's coming in the next 2 weeks, and you'll be able to set the time zone yourself. So we're nearly there. Yes, you will be able to change it. Not immediately, but you will.
Cool. Yeah, very good. So I take the second question, which is from Steve. Thanks, Steve, for asking the question. Is it possible to set up automated reports in the social media analytics tool? I think you mean in this case Quintly, and the answer is yes. It is. I can show you how. So let's say you want to report the Instagram analysis I just showed you, so the New York Times analysis, because you are somewhat interested in that on the changes every Monday morning, let's say. You can say, okay, report setup, and then you say, yes, enable reporting, email recipients are Julian at Quintly.com and also Patrick at mention.com because he likes that as well. And then you can say, okay, frequency weekly, day on, you want to say it on a Wednesday perhaps, and then at 9 a.m. UTC time zone nodes, here you go. And then you just say set up report, and that's it. So I can't scroll down right now, but then you just say yes, and then it's done. So that's how you do it basically in Quintly. So the simple answer is yes, you can. Are there some more questions? Yeah, there are. Can you talk about sentiment analysis, which I found in other tools to be less than perfect? I think that's a listening question from Terry. So I just give it to you. Over to you, Patrick.
Absolutely. It's a familiar question, Terry. It's really troubling a lot of data scientists at the moment. What I can tell you is that we've hired 2 new people about a month ago to work specifically on sentiment analysis, and we're going to have a whole lot of new capabilities. The way that they're working on it, which is really fascinating, is using machine learning. So they're basically setting up robots, not real robots, but digital robots that will learn from themselves how to get better and better and better at sentiment analysis. Definitely right now it is something, as you say in your question, that every social listening tool is struggling with, working on, trying to perfect. There are definitely flaws in it. For example, for those who aren't aware, sentiment analysis looks at a tweet or a Facebook post or whatever and can tell you broadly whether that post is positive or negative. And that can be difficult because, for instance, an expression like I just died from laughter is actually a positive, but because it has the word died in it, a lot of tools pick that up as a negative. And so the short answer, Terry, is that everybody's working on it, including us, and it will get better, and it will only get better as these digital robots are learning more and more and more. It's just going to get better and better and better, but it is a work in progress. The way that we advise people to use sentiment analysis at this point is as a broad filter. So when I showed you that I had 25,000 messages all about Prince, for example, it's totally hopeless trying to read through 25,000 messages because in an hour there's going to be another 25,000. But what you can do is use sentiment analysis to look for things like very positive and potentially very negative comments, and work through those and try to find exactly what you're looking by using it as a filter. But I wouldn't recommend relying on it and assuming that every single instance of sentiment analysis or use of sentiment analysis is spot on, because there will always be errors. But thank you for that question. And perhaps I will take the next one as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Again from Terry. Really good questions, Terry. Thank you for these. So Terry says, more mentions are now included in graphic images. Please discuss. This is very much, my answer to this is going to be very similar to my last answer, I'm afraid, which is, again, it's a work in progress. So the question is, if someone writes words in a picture, that's very difficult for crawling tools to read at present. Everybody's working on them. Again, these are 2 of the really biggest issues in our industry. And again, it's going to be using a lot of machine learning is how they're going to do it. And actually, I was talking about images with one of our data scientists just last week. He was describing exactly how they're going to do this, which is you basically teach an algorithm to recognize certain patterns within the image, and then teach it to know when it's right, which is kind of the tricky part. So right now, mention we don't do image. We don't do it. We can't sort of recognize patterns and shapes within images. We rely on text only. But everybody's working on it, and nobody's doing it perfectly right now. Certainly we're going to need to, because there's a huge amount of image and video content. As a marketer, I know, because I'm having to do it myself, there's a huge amount of image and video content out there, which means we're going to have to be able to identify that accurately.
Perfect. Yeah. I think we answered all the questions. Or do you see anything what I don't see, Patrick?
No, I don't. Those are all the questions we have here.
Cool. There
But
then.
I will say, as you said just before, if anybody has more questions, please send them in. We
Yeah.
do want to answer them. Patrick@mention.com or your email address, Julian.
Just Julian@quintly.com. Easy as Patrick's.
Simple.
Yeah. Exactly. And then yeah, again, so we created the ebook. If you are interested in that, just download it. It's for free. And yeah, I think that's it basically. And we can just say happy holidays and Merry Christmas
Absolutely. Happy holidays.
and keep warm wherever you are.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Then thanks everybody from my side, from Quintly HQ here in Germany. And then Patrick, thank you very, very much for your time as well. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, everybody who attended. It was fantastic.
Cool. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.